יהי רצון פרשת תזריע מצורע. יהי רצון שהלימוד לרפואת כל החולים, ובתוכם טניה בת הודה מרגלית, יוסף יאיר בן אביב וחווה, הרב סיוון בן סימה, לאה בת מטל, בתוך כל שאר חולי ישראל. The Parshiot of Tazriah Mitzorah are essentially dealing with one topic, the majority of it, with Tzarat. Before we touch into Tzarat, this year Tazriah Mitzorah come in preparation to Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut. And although they might seem very separate from each other and very distant from each other, we want to try Be'ezrat Hashem through understanding one element of Tzarat to relate it back to the times that we're in of Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut. So before we start the Tzarat, Yom HaZikaron, Yom HaAtzmaut, there's the famous debate and discussion over the link between Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut. There's no real separation between the two. We go straight from the Zikaron of the pain and difficulty of standing at all the graves and all the broken dreams, broken families. And immediately after that, we jump into the celebrations of 69 years of Eretz Yisrael. And that it's been in a constant conversation. Is it the right link? Is it the wrong link? And to get back to there, I want to first enter into the Tzarat, and then we'll go back to that question. The topic of Tzaraat is interesting on two levels. The first level that's interesting is that the concept of Tzaraat appears after the sin of Nadav and Avihu. And the journey of the Torah after the sin of Nadav and Avihu is trying to figure out how do we re-enter into Kodesh Kodashim. We had the opportunity and we lost the opportunity, and the parshiot between the destruction of what happened with Nadav and Avihu until Achrei Mot, where Aaron re-enters into Kodesh Kodashim, are a deeper conversation on what's going to enable us to be able to enter into Kodesh Kodashim. And part of that journey is Tzaraat. And so I just want to read two words from a midrash that might seem at the beginning not so significant, but I think through learning will be very significant. And the midrash says, Vayikra Rabba Mitzorah. What does the word Mitzorah mean? Motzi Ra. That the word Mitzorah was chosen because it's a combination of two words which means Motzi Ra. He takes out bad. So it's a nice combination to say that Mitzorah is two words of Motzi Ra, but in order for it to be authentic and deep and for us to understand it better, where else do we see this issue that Mitzorah is really the concept of Motzi Ra? And I think that we can see it on a few levels. The first level is the essence of Lashon Hara. What does Lashon Hara mean? Some people translate Lashon Hara as saying something wrong. It's not true. Lashon Hara is saying the truth. There's something called lying. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about someone that says something honestly true about another person that is Ra. So what is the big deal? Because in every person, there's a combination of negative and positive. And however you present yourself and however you present a person is going to make the other person focus on one or the other, which means that Lashon Hara is honest. But what it's doing is it's making you focus on element Ra and making you not aware of element Tov. So when we're saying Lashon Hara, what we're doing is we're forcing other people to focus on negative when there is another thing to focus on, which is positive. What does it mean, Mitzorah, that you're Motzi the Ra? That you're looking at a person and you're searching to find the negative element in order to draw a negative picture, in order to cause people not to see the positive. The antithesis of that would be The idea in Pirkei Avot which says, Hevei dan et kol ha'adam lekav zchut. That does not mean that people are always doing the right thing, but it means you as a spectator must decide what are you focused on. And the person who is saying Lashon Hara is focused on lehotzi et hara. You're trying to focus on the negative. It's interesting also that the person who is mitzorah is taken away from the camp. So what do we do to the person? We say to him, you focused on negative, now I'm going to make you become separated just like you did to that other person. Which means that the punishment is not a punishment, it's an educational system which is coming to teach the person, if you want to focus on negative, it's true. But recognize that at the same time, you could have focused on the other side. One more thing about the tzarat. The tzarat, there are two birds. One we hold and one we send away. This says the Sfat Emet in the year 1872, Shashnei tziporim chayot tehorot romzim al shnei yitzarim. Why do we have two birds? They're reminding us that in each and every person, not because they're bad, because this is the way Hashem made them. Hashem made every human being with two birds or with two yetzers. And therefore, it's really going to always be a part of creation that Hashem didn't make a mistake. He wants us to have Ra. But He wants us to choose what to focus on. Individually in ourselves, to focus on A and not to focus on B, to grow the Yetzer Tov and to belittle the Yetzer Ra, but also as a spectator, try to learn the positive of a person and not the negative. So those three elements. Number one, what you're doing to the person, that you're focusing on the negative. What we do to the person that spoke Ra, we separate them. And number three, the two birds that we send away one and we leave one, what we're saying is that's what you did. That you looked at the person, at the Ra that was planted in him with Hashem, and you separated them. If you would have left them together, it would have been good. That's what Hashem wants. But you decided to focus on the Ra. And when you see that bird fly away, realize that you tried to distance the Ra from the Tov. You didn't let them be mixed together. And so that means that the idea of Mitzorah, the name, is Lotzi Ra. Because there's two ways to look at bad. One is that Ra is part of the picture. The other is to emphasize it as the only picture. To give an example, it's very simple. If any of us cook a cake, there's something called sugar, there's something called more sugar, and there's something called more sugar. But what will make the cake incredible is that there's something called salt. As long as it's part of one batter, it can all be positive. But if you separate the salt and you give a person just salt, then that's disgusting. I don't want that. Says Hashem, I want you to realize that I created you as a person that has two sides, and I want it to be that way. And I want the Ra to be involved in the picture. I want it to be part of the cycle. I do not want it to be on its own. And the tzarat is when you separate the melech, when you separate the negative, when you focus on negativity, when you look at life and you're looking for the darkness and not seeing the darkness as part of a cycle. So how does this go back to Nadav and Avihu? At the moment that Nadav and Avihu sinned, all of Am Yisrael were together. And in Am Yisrael there are better and there are worse people. And suddenly they separated themselves. They removed themselves from the circle. They removed themselves from the community. They removed themselves from the picture of everyone being together. Says Tzarat in reaction to Nadav and Avihu. In times of combination, even the negative can be positive. When you have the total picture, even all of the people of Am Yisrael that might have made mistakes, they are feeling like they're part of the picture. But when you separated yourselves, you destroyed the Kedusha of Am Yisrael. And with that, I think we can return back to the question of Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut. There is no more difficult combination than the tears of Yom HaZikaron and the dancing of Yom HaAtzmaut. But I think that there might be a thing to learn in the combination. That as people, we can decide to focus on negative on its own or as part of a picture. The idea of Yom HaZikaron being right before Yom HaAtzmaut, and there is a lot to speak about, and maybe it's not as simple as we're saying it is now, but it's to recognize the circle. It's to see that really the negative parts of our building of the state can't be seen alone. The story must be a story that has chapters and not separate stories. We can't see the story of pain and then the story of gain and see them as two separates. We must realize that there are two chapters in order for us to be able to deal with the pain. It's not that Yom HaZikaron needs Yom HaAtzmaut, it's that Yom HaAtzmaut needs Yom HaZikaron. It's not that the people on Yom HaZikaron need Yom HaAtzmaut to be after, they're fine without it. But the people who are celebrating Yom HaAtzmaut need to realize that the depth of your simcha is that it's caused by someone. Is that you're recognizing through the dancing in the streets of Tel Aviv and Yerushalayim and Haifa and wherever you are in the world, that your raglaim that are rokdim are a result of someone else. And that they are infused by someone else. And the danger of tzara'at is when people are able to think that our lives are our creations. God forbid 69 years of Eretz Yisrael have been built by other people. That the rikudim that our children are dancing in Yerushalayim are not their feet. They are standing on the feet of the people, of others that broke themselves in order for those feet to continue their stories. Our bracha as we enter into the week of Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut is never to be the people that separate. The people that separate A from B are the ones that want to create sara'at. They are ones that want to create, at the end of the day, it's my picture and it's not your picture. The ability to enter into Yom HaAtzmaut is to immerse ourselves in Yom HaZikaron. This is not a story of yourself. It's a story of you continuing the story of someone else. Shabbat Shalom.